A huntsman once tracked a lion that was terrorizing his village all the way to its den. Though armed with only a spear, the man managed to kill both the lion and its mate, but spared the cubs. This mercy so pleased the old gods that they sent a shaft of sunlight deep into the cave, gleaming off golden walls. The hunter became a miner and built a ring fort to guard his new wealth. Nobody ever asks what happened to the cubs. Maybe the gods forgot about them and they starved. Maybe there never were any cops or lions or hunter. Doesn't matter. Someone found enough gold in that cave to buy whatever truth he wanted, along with a castle that he'd name after his new family. Casterly Rock. Thanks, Nate, Peter became a miner and built a ring fort to guard his new wealth. Nobody ever asks what happened to the cops. Maybe the gods forgot about them.
Oh, wait,
Someone found enough gold in that cave to buy whatever truth he wanted, along with a castle that he'd name after his new family. Casterly Rock. Thanks to that gold, Casterly Rock soon became the largest, wealthiest, and best defended castle in Westeros. An army that struggled up the main approach would still have to climb thick, high, and well-defended walls. Should they choose instead to lay siege, the sea helpfully carved a massive cave beneath the castle, which over time became a private port complete with docks, wharves, and shipyards. And so, to this day, even with all the gold in Westeros to tempt invaders, Casterly Rock has never fallen. At least, not in battle. The castle is sadly all that remains of its namesake family, the Casterlys. According to another legend, my ancestor, Lan the Clever, swindled the castle from them. The most common story is that he found a hidden cleft in the rock and snuck into the castle.
Hold up,
At
let's
night,
see.
he whispered threats into sleeping ears, howled in the darkness, planted one brother's treasures in the room of another, and so forth. By the end of his games, the Casterlys believed a demon was haunting their home and fled. My brother preferred
tripping?
a demon in the room of another, and so forth. By the end of his
Okay, that's
games,
this.
the
I'm
Casterlys
like, that's a
believed
sign that
demons
makes when my
haunted their
video's
home.
done exported. I'm like, I'm not exporting the video.
My brother prefers a different version. Lan the Clever did find a secret entrance into the rock, but used it to have his way with the Casterly maidens. Eventually, the girls gave birth to golden-haired bastards, and the Casterlys had no choice but to accept their father into the family. In gratitude, he changed the family name to honor himself, and House Lannister was born. The Casterlys used the gold of the rock to become lords. The Lannisters became kings. For thousands of years, the Kingdom of the Rock ruled the Westerlands. When the Ironborn became a nuisance, my ancestors sailed to the Iron Islands and returned with 100 Ironborn hostages, promising to hang one from the rock every time the Ironborn dared raid our shores. The Ironborn stayed away, well, after 20 or so. When the Andals arrived after sweeping across the rest of Westeros, we invited their sons and daughters into the rock as squires and court ladies. I don't think we ever had to hang any of them.
Yo,
Finally,
yo,
Aegon
chill.
defeated us on the field of fire, and my ancestor knelt. Still, little changed but titles and taxes. For when Visenya Targaryen saw the rock, she gave thanks that my ancestor had met Aegon on the field. Even Dragonflame would have washed over the castle like the waves and left just as much a mark. But now the mines are dry, and Casterly Rock is just that, a rock. Our gold has passed into legend, just like the merciful huntsman and Lan the Clever. As will our family if we lose this war. Unlike the Casterlys, however, we won't even have a castle to remember our name.
All right, I don't know when I said it, but okay, listen right here, right now. If I just watch the show, I don't read the books, and someone is playing or singing The Reigns of Castamere, how the hell am I gonna know what that means? Bro, gonna say they really played this and you didn't know what it meant, dude. I haven't got to that episode yet, bro. I haven't read the books. I don't know what that means. But what was I saying? I don't remember when I said it. It's like I'm gonna say it every time because I don't remember when I said it. But I think I might say it down the line So you could say it either here or if you see it there. But I guess I could look it up unless no one else noticed it like I did. But right there, it's just as clear as day. Casterly Rock is passed down, right? Season 8. 7. Yes, season 7. Yeah, for sure, season 7. All right. You know, they're about to take the rock, and then it's like, oh, it's never been taken, blah blah blah. Tyrion's like, well, no, that's a lie. Let me shut the hell up. But he started it off with, your father, didn't he say my father built blah blah blah, and then he said I did the sewage. I think, I don't know if it was a video from talking about when it came to the, I was talking about a video that I was gonna do, was talking about how Tyrion is different from the books and the shows. I think in that video it said there's a problem with the sewage, and Tywin left the task with Tyrion, so that's why Tywin says it's beneath him. But in the show, I'm pretty sure I'm not mistaken, he was making it seem like Tywin was the one. Now, I'm not saying he was there on his hands and knees every day building it brick by brick, but he was there when it came to building Casterly Rock, right? And then he said, okay, the sewage is beneath me. That was one thing. Matter of fact, it's gonna take too long to fucking pull it up right now, because I don't even know what episode it is. But yeah, I guess if I remember, I could do it in between videos and pull it up, and we'll see. Let me see what the feedback in the last up.
When disciplining unruly vassals, most lords sent armies.
Feedback in the last video I just posted.
Only had to send a singer. There's no faster way to dull a vassal's ambition or any festive occasion than hearing the reigns of Castamere. The House Reign of Castamere was an old and proud house that was slowly sinking back into the muck. Their mines had run dry. Without gold, they turned to a more common source of wealth: daughters. Lady Ellen Rain was betrothed to my great uncle, but when he fell in battle, Lady Ellen sought comfort in his twin brother's bed, beating out the other woman he promised to marry. Then the husband, who had shared his twin's wife, when he fell in battle, Lady Ellen sought comfort in his twin brother's bed, beating out the other woman he promised to marry. Then the husband, who had shared his twin's wife, shared his twin's death on a different battlefield. Lady Ellen flung herself at the new and married heir to the rock. But my grandfather Titus was more kitten than lion. He ran away and told his wife of Lady Ellen's designs, and Lady Ellen soon found herself married off to Walter and Tarbeck, lord of another failing house. The Rains and Tarbecks should have sunk into obscurity together, and they would have if not for my grandfather becoming lord of Casterly Rock. At first, the Westerlands laughed with the laughing lion, as the jovial Titus was called. But when men realized this lion had neither teeth nor claws, they started to laugh at him. None laughed harder than the Rains and Tarbecks. Though Lady Ellen was no longer welcome at Casterly Rock, Titus didn't refuse her brothers, Roger and Reynard Rain, not even when they asked for extravagant loans. Thanks to our family's gold, Lady Ellen restored Tarbeck Hall to a splendor she hadn't known since being cast out of our home. When my grandfather broached the subject of repayment, Roger and Reynard only laughed. And soon enough, my grandfather was laughing along with them. Then my father Tywin returned from the War of the Ninepenny Kings, where he'd seen how the rest of the realm sniggered at House Lannister. Determined to restore our proper place, my father demanded the immediate repayment of all debts to the Rock, or a hostage from those who couldn't pay. Reynard Rain merely laughed when he received the raven. Lord Walderan Tarbeck chose to ride to Casterly Rock, sure that he could cow Lord Titus into rescinding my father's commands. He could have, except it wasn't Titus who met him at the gates, but my father, who had Lord Walderan thrown into a dungeon. Lady Ellen protested. The Rains threatened war, and finally my grandfather broke and released Lord Tarbeck with an apology no less, as if bathing himself in shame. Titus further forgave all the Tarbeck debts to our house. To celebrate the end of hostilities, Lord Roger feasted Titus at Castamere, and the two lords proclaimed their friendship for eternity. My father allowed eternity to last a year. When he summoned the Rains and Tarbecks to Casterly Rock to answer for their crimes, they rose in revolt, exactly as he expected. Their defiance gave him a pretext to call his banners and ride for Tarbeck Hall and Castamere with an army behind him. He didn't even bother to inform my grandfather.
Hey, why would you?
My father's army descended on the Tarbeck so quickly that Lord Walderan had no time to gather his forces and rode against my father with only his household knights. Soon, his head, his sons' heads, and the heads of any man with Tarbeck blood adorned the spears of the Lannister vanguard as it marched to Tarbeck Hall. At their approach, Lady Ellen Tarbeck closed the gates and sent ravens to her brothers at Castamere. She assumed they'd have more than enough time to muster their armies and break what would be a long siege. My father had trebuchets up in a day and brought down the keep within hours. Lady Ellen and her son were crushed in its fall. When the Tarbeck forces surrendered, my father put their castle to the torch. Roger Rain arrived with his army just in time to see the flames consuming his sister's home. He charged my father's camp, hoping surprise would win out over my father's greater numbers. It didn't. With half his men dead on the field and a crossbow in his back, Lord Roger fled back to Castamere. The Lannister host arrived at Castamere 3 days later. Like Casterly Rock, the seat of House Rain had begun as a mine. When the gold gave out, the mine shafts were widened into halls, galleries, and bedchambers deep beneath the earth. The Rain brothers didn't have the men to defend the castle walls and retreated into their underground stronghold. From this relative safety, they offered terms to my father to avoid a long siege. My father didn't reply. Instead, he commanded that the mines be sealed with stone and soil until there was no way in and no way out. When that was completed, it took less than a day to dam the stream beside the castle and only 2 to divert it to the nearest mine entrance. The Rains had taken more than 300 men, women, and children into the mines. A few guards reported hearing faint screams and shouts below them one night, but come dawn, the earth was silent once again. And now the rain weeps o'er their halls, with no one left to hear.
That's really like a crazy play on that shit, dude. Cause I had heard about that maybe like a week ago, and then my first thought was like, how am I supposed to know this first time watching, not read any books, like, bro, really? I don't even know if you're. I don't even know if you're. I think you're actually one of the good comments. That was just. Yours was a little longer, and then that was one of the things I was like, bruh, how am I supposed to know that, man?
What the king dreams, the hand of the king builds. Or, so say the kings, the hands, and the lords who wish to be hands. The lowborn put it differently. The king eats, and the hand takes the shit. The fact is, most kings hate ruling. We shouldn't blame them. Their only qualification is blood. So, naturally they're wary of a seat made of blades. Far better to find other men to rule in their stead. But how should a king select his hand? Family? One king chose his brother, Prince Maegor, a warrior who was proud and arrogant. Maegor agreed to marry the High Septon's niece to unite the faith and the crown, but then secretly wed a second wife, a Valerian ceremony artfully combining bigamy and heresy. And when word of it got out, the king was forced to exile Maegor and choose a Septon as his new hand. But the damage had been done. The king had trusted in family, and his brother had set off a rebellion that would claim his rule and his life. Strength? As little more than a boy, Sir Criston Cole replaced the legendary Sir Rayam Redwine on the King's Guard and soon rose to Lord Commander. But knights only know one way to settle disputes. When Prince Aegon's father died, Sir Criston slit the throat of an advisor who objected to Aegon's ascension over his aunt, the anointed heir. His actions so pleased the new king, Aegon, second of his name, that he appointed Sir Criston as his hand in the ensuing civil war, called the Dance of Dragons. Neither Sir Criston, nor the king, nor even the Targaryen dragons would survive it. Perhaps it's no surprise that the wisest king in the history of Westeros made the wisest choice for his hand. The son of a lowly blacksmith, Septon Barth had few options for advancement in the world, and even fewer after his family gave him to the faith as a child. But as royal record keeper, Barth impressed the king so much that the king, defying all his high-born advisors, made Septon Barth his hand. 40 years of prosperity ensued. So much did Barth accomplish that many lords and commoners credited him with sorcery. No other explanation could they accept for a man without blood or skill at arms. Because what Barth had was rarer than both. A sharp mind. Years later, the realm had no sharper mind than Lord Tywin Lannister, hand to King Aerys Targaryen. Or, as history remembers him, the Mad King. He saw assassins and plots in every shadow, heard whispers in silence, and burned men alive. But his greatest madness by far was driving away Lord Tywin. The Mad King then cycled through every mistake of his ancestors. Soldiers, toadying lords, and at the end even an alchemist, perhaps to save the crown's growing expenses on wildfire. Unfortunately, it didn't save his crown or his dynasty. The new King Robert chose his foster father, Lord Jon Arryn, as his hand. The wisest decision Robert ever made. Not that it had many rivals. Too bad it proved so fatal. Lord Arryn was a man of honor from an ancient and proud family. But honor is no shield against the corruption of the capital, as Lord Arryn's successor, Ned Stark, learned as well.
Where are you looking at?
Perhaps the hand of the king is a flawed idea. Westeros needs a ruler who can rule, who builds what he dreams himself. A king who can't govern his kingdom is no king, and a hand who shits what another man eats is an arse.
I actually mess with the idea of a hand. I had to look that up and see if that's an actual real thing, because I'm like, I ain't never heard of that. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool concept.
The Tyrells claim Highgarden, but they didn't build it. They claim descent from the first king of the Reach, but only through the female line. The truth is that House Gardner built Highgarden when they ruled the Reach as kings, not lords. And as their name attests, they were the true heirs of Garth the Gardener, who founded their house and the kingdom, and brought law and order to the Reach. He built Highgarden as a fortress, not a pleasure palace. In those dark days, the Ironborn raided up and down the Mando at will, and the Dornish were even more troubled than they are now. While enduring shame, a Dornish army once sacked Highgarden and destroyed the Oaken Seat, the living throne of the Gardener kings planted by Garth Greenhand himself. The Gardeners responded wisely, sending armies of their own to pacify and defend the countryside. My ancestors at Horn Hill joined them, as did the other great families of the Reach. Even House Hightower yielded without a fight, choosing marriage into House Gardner over a war that would weaken us against outsiders. But the outsiders still came. The Andals swept across Westeros, destroying many ancient families. And
I'm telling you this right now.
when the invaders arrived at
If
the
they
Reach,
made, hold up,
led
I'm
by Sir Alistair
gonna let this slide finish.
House Gardner chose accommodation over battle.
Especially just looking at this slide, it just got kind of got me thinking.
Tyrells were welcomed into service as hereditary stewards of Highgarden. Thousands of years later, they repaid the Gardeners for their acceptance. When Aegon Targaryen declared that Westeros was now his, King Mern IX allied with King Loren Lannister of the Westerlands. Together, they fought to save Westeros from another foreign barbarian, whose family practices put decent men to shame. But the dragons won, and the Field of Fire claimed Mern and all his sons, grandsons, and brothers. Instead of using the castle for what it was built to do, Harlan Tyrell surrendered it to Aegon without a fight. In exchange, Harlan was given the castle his family had served for thousands of years, with all its attendant lands and lords, including my family. Perhaps the Tyrells were great once, but Harlan gave away their honor when he opened gates that weren't his to open, and to a foreign invader. Ever since, there hasn't been a Lord Tyrell who wasn't a mockery of the title. Women rule that house. Everybody knows it. And look what it's wrought. Their proper lord, heir, and queen, dead. Leaving only a shrunken old woman who forgets her loyalties to the realm, either in grief or dotage. But her thorns won't protect her more than any other rose when the hand comes to rip them out.
Elena's one of the most fired, man. Stop it. Cause you really, spoiler alert, you really shot up on my, I'ma just say you're really up there on my list, character tier list. And what did it say? You was only, like, you were not that crazy when it came to how much you're in it. Like, you're not in it as much as Jon Snow or Daenerys or Sansa. Like, you didn't have that much screen time. What I was gonna say is, listen, I'm telling you this right now. Like, listen, I'm telling you this right now. Unless I got, heli I probably will have heli videos in the reserves. By that time, that's gonna run out. If they ever drop like an MMORPG within Westeros, shit, I prefer Westeros, but shit, if you even did Essos, or you did the whole thing, you're not gonna see me for a good 2 months at least. Like, I don't really go crazy on MMORPGs, but certain ones, or if I'm like, hey, this is a certain universe that I'm intrigued in, I'll go ahead and check it out. But the ones that I do like, I like those. And not like when I usually say I like those, or we like those. Like, you're not gonna see me. That's all I'm gonna say, man. I was just thinking about it, the art style. I was like, damn. At first I was gonna be like, imagine being in this world, but I'm like, I'd rather just kind of back up and be a spectator and just like explore the castles and take in the view and shit like that. Cause listen, I'm not about to be running into some randoms and they on some different shit. So I want to be out of the danger and watching.